me a text and said, Gregory just sent it to you.
But he made it sound like you were on fresh air.
It's
Like,
so
I have to be
fascinating.
nicer to that person.
Can you imagine? I'm so fascinating. I mean, it's just a matter of time.
No, but she's crazy.
Oh, yeah, she's the best. I mean, she would be like, why are you? I've read your bio. There's nothing really interesting about you. Why are you? How many people canceled that Terry Gross has to talk to himself?
By
So,
yourself.
like, it is one-on-one. Wow.
Because he said, and he didn't say
He said NPR.
during Terry Gross.
I try not to be that way. I just have interesting. I am. Can you imagine? That would be the demise of NPR. No, we got some really nice people out of that interview. It was very nice.
I say thank you.
Good. I'm sure you do. I tried to. Yeah, yeah.
Did you tune out your scales?
I don't want to know what you're talking
Do the
about.
cats stay for the entire?
For example, if we just made it as muscles, it should be muscles. We always say muscles.
All right.
You do that paw, or he or she paw.
Turns out, wow, you know, it's like CNC muscles. He's usually always like, that's fine. The thing is that
Or you both cat people?
$600. Their body.
And I would invite cats. Or dogs.
Lizard.
Or any dog
They did that we went to visit a while ago.
very, not racist, species.
My child is in graduate school.
Yeah, no, not mine. Third grade. Still seems unbelievable, but third grade. I know, it has nothing to do with laugh. There's nothing to do with laugh.
Shaggy.
Nope, he's been Scooby for years.
Still fits.
This is his third album. It's funny you should mention it because it ripped in the crotch and jewels. Like I think it's like the third one. We have to get him a man size. Yeah. Oh, big time. He has all these movies. Yeah. It's the time. It really has. And when we go to the Roscoe Village Halloween, we always wear Scooby. There are always 7 men.
Well, that I understand because
They knew when they were a child. No. It's always like that. Curious George is still do, I would say. Yeah. You'd be surprised. You can haunt anything. You can haunt radio studios. You can haunt jungle scenes. You can fake haunts. You can make. They've been very creative. It is. Darn kids, yeah. Actually,
So does he want to man?
no, we had those little men. Probably.
Or as my people across the street used to refer to them as safety.
We don't call them that because it's This is so funny. I'm just seeing my son dressed as Scooby today going to school. Brand new. How in the world did it get into your world?
She lives on this planet.
Well, hello, I never saw anything like this. Mark, that's how. I knew there had to be a real issue.
Well, the snake
what is this? And they were explaining. No! I said, I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, apparently.
I didn't get the memo.
No. Yes. You were in class. What's the tradition? I said, what? I wish you would have. I said, what's the tradition? It's me and Joel and Nathan were standing in our front. She's like, well, usually we're Mary Marys. I'm like, okay, you picked the right family. She says, I'm real bad. That is scary. Super active. Yeah, she was gonna be up there all week.
Let me make sure I have this on.
Oh, yeah. Really? Yes. Yes. That's really not messing with her.
I can't hear anything. That's why.
Lucy Minor, so wonderful. Florida University. Art is evil. What makes that be so? Frozen and Scooby. Thank you. I think that's hysterical that you knew that.
Hello, Heather. How are you?
Yeah, planning. Yep. DNA. Yep. No idea. What was we talking about? Oh. I don't know. That I can't help you with.
One second, okay?
No problem. Take your time.
You got it?
I was just making sure that they're cupped. Good. dead. Someone's dead. So you need to find a place out there.
Charge it up?
Yeah.
Susan, is coming in.
If I could ask everyone to take a seat and get settled in. We are getting ready to start with our Planning and Administration Committee. For the record, we audio and video record our meetings. So I ask the board if you would kindly remember to push your button on your microphone when you have something to say on the record and push it when you're finished. We do have a limited number of active mics at any given time, so please remember to do that. And for those that are on the telephone, if you would kindly remember to mute your phone when you don't have something to say. We get a lot of feedback. And with that, I think that covers all of my little perfunctory comments. Oh, we can begin.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to start the meeting of the Planning and Administration Committee. Secretary, please call roll.
Director Durante?
Here.
Director Fraga? Director Higgins?
Here.
Director Pang?
Here.
Director Ross? Here. Director Sager?
Here.
Director Fuentes?
Here.
We have a quorum of 7 present with no absent. If the record would also show that Directors Colson, Groven, Holt, Cotel. Director McGallis, are you on the line? No. Director Melvin, Director Troiani, are you on the line? No. And Chairman Dillard are also present.
Okay, next is the approval of the minutes from the meeting held on February 21st. Are there any questions or comments?
So moved.
Moved by Director Durante, seconded by Director Higgins. Secretary, please call roll.
Director Durante?
Aye.
Director Fraga? Director Higgins?
Aye.
Director Pang?
Aye.
Director Ross? Dr. Sager?
Yes.
Director Fuentes?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, next is the release of the 2019 Community Planning Call for Projects. Jill, you're up.
Good morning. I'm going to turn
Morning.
this over to Michael Horsting, our Manager of Community Planning, who's going to give an update and overview of our program of projects.
Great. Thank you, Jill. Good morning, everyone, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. As Jill mentioned, I'm here to provide an overview and an update of new projects in our 2019 Community Planning Program. But first, I thought I'd take a step backwards and just, again, provide an overview of what the program is and the work that we do in the program, just as a refresher, and then maybe a little helpful for some of the newer faces here at the table. So the RTA has been involved in planning at the community level and around public transportation, encouraging transit-supportive land uses for over 20 years now. This program has been in existence since 1998. By providing technical assistance to complete plans, as well as support to implement those plans, the work of the RTA's community planning program works to develop more walkable, sustainable communities near transit and along transit corridors. It also works towards meeting the goals of our strategic plan by building on the strengths of our transit network and also keeping transit competitive in today's very competitive transportation and ever-changing transportation market. The RTA has been on the national forefront of a transit agency planning, providing this type of planning assistance. And locally, the program remains a very important tool to advancing TOD and TOD initiatives throughout our region. The types of projects that we offer through the program vary, but in general, they fall into two. Is it? Get a little closer. Is that better? I'll lean a little bit. There we go. Great. Projects generally fall into two key categories, those that work to complete a plan, as well as those that work towards implementing a plan that's already been completed. Under planning, TOD plans are offered to create a vision for a station area that is supported by quality transit service. TOD is the return to more compact development styles with high-quality environments for walking, biking, using transit, etc. And these plans typically create a strategy for how to develop and create a mixture of land uses in areas served by transit. This is very important to support the daily needs of residents, employees, and visitors, and is very contrast sometimes into the separation of land uses most commonly seen in auto-oriented styles of development. Corridor plans have very similar characteristics to a TOD plan and include land use recommendations, but they focus on a section of transit-served roadway rather than a station area. And they also identify ways to attract more people to travel that corridor using transit instead of perhaps a different mode. So it also includes lots of recommendations to improve access to transit along the corridor. Neighborhood mobility access plans have more of a transportation focus and less of a land use focus, but identify ways to improve access to bus routes and rail stations for residents and commuters in a targeted neighborhood. Typical recommendations include very specific pedestrian access improvements, as well as strategies to offer perhaps multimodal or shared transportation options to get to and from transit services within a neighborhood. So we recognize that implementing a plan that's been completed is very challenging, especially at the local level for municipalities. So we also offer implementation assistance to help them kind of spur that work. Implementation-focused projects include updating a municipal zoning code, establishing a special funding district to help pay for some of the improvements in a TOD area, as well as helping municipalities obtain feedback from the private development community. To complete this work, the RTA provides technical assistance as well as secures consultant expertise for situations and plans and work that is more in-depth and more complex. With all projects, RTA staff manages each and every project to ensure that team communication is flowing, that everything is completed in a timely fashion, remains within scope, budget, etc. The map on this slide here kind of shows the depth of the spread of our work over the region and the communities that we've worked with. Through the program, we've provided technical assistance to approximately half of the municipalities in our region that are transit served. We've worked with and in each of the 6 counties in our region, and a third of the councils of governments to leverage their transit assets and create great places to live, work, near transit services in our region. The program has also led to ongoing relationships and partnerships with these units of local government, many of them, approximately a third of them, coming back to us for additional assistance, especially in the form of implementation assistance. The 3 RTA service boards, our 3 service boards, are also very key partners to the program. First of all, they're eligible to apply themselves for some of their own initiatives, and so we frequently see an application come in from Metra, CTA, Metro, or PACE. But in other cases, they're actively involved in many of our projects in which we are working with one or more local governments. They're very key partners, helping us review scopes of work and provide technical expertise related to the services that they provide. So on to the new projects for 2019 that we're undertaking. In September of last year, 2018, we opened up a call for projects and solicited applications from local governments across the region for new ideas to undertake through our program. That call ended in October, during which time we received 14 applications for assistance. Each application was reviewed by RTA staff, and feedback was solicited from our other technical providers as well as the service boards. Applications were then evaluated based on each project's alignment with the recommendations of our strategic plan, feasibility of the proposed project, and the applicant's ability to undertake this work and implementation track record. After reviewing each application, the RTA staff selected these 9 projects listed here into the program. There are no winners or losers in this call for project or in our region for that matter. We remain committed to helping all communities advance their goals in support of transit. And for those that we may not have selected, we'll offer tips to help them develop an application for future years perhaps that better align with the community planning program, or in some cases identify other ways the RTA staff could offer assistance to applicants just outside of the community planning program. We did conduct a public comment period on these 9 projects from February 5 through March 8, during which time no public comments were received. So this meeting today is the final step in our project selection process for 2019, for the 2019 program. So you'll see here we have a number of TOD plans that we intend to work on. The first is a TOD plan for downtown Cary, the area surrounding the Cary Metro Station. We're partnering with the City of Crystal Lake to complete 2 TOD plans there, one for the downtown Crystal Lake Station and the other for the Pingree Road Station. The Village of Itasca is looking to update their downtown strategic action plan, which has a very transit-oriented focus, so we'll be undertaking a project with them. And then the final on the list is Elevated Chicago, which is a partnership of organizations committed to advancing transit-oriented development in the city, but with a focus on equity. They've selected 7 station areas on the CTA system, primarily on the west and south sides of the city. These are areas that are experiencing or have the potential for displacement due to gentrification and or are areas that have seen chronic disinvestment for many, many years. So we're excited especially to partner in this project. It is important to note that this would be a partnership with the Chicago Metropolitan Agency on Planning, CMAP, and so it is contingent upon them also accepting this project into their program. Final decisions will be in about 3 weeks from today. We'll be partnering with the City of Chicago on a corridor study of a section of 31st Street in Little Village. This is an exciting project as well through CDOT, Chicago Department of Transportation. There is a heavy presence of industrial truck traffic along this section of corridor, and so we're looking for ways to maybe help mitigate some of that truck traffic and make the transportation environment for transit users more friendly. We'll be partnering with the Village of Riverside on a TOD zoning code update. They're especially interested in codes that support walkability in their downtown and station area, as well as some of the bus corridors that are within the Riverside municipalities. The Village of Park Forest submitted an application for a transportation alternative study, kind of a mobility improvement plan, in partnership with their neighboring communities of Matson and Richton Park. So we're looking to partner with them and identify transportation alternatives to get to and from the bus stops and rail stations that are in their communities. And then finally, this morning, our service boards. I think this is the first time ever all 3 service boards submitted an application this year to us, so that was exciting. In the end, the CTA ended up withdrawing their application as they were able to secure funding for their scope of work that they were looking to complete. So they ended up withdrawing their application. However, the other 2 remaining projects were good projects for us to partner with through the program. We're looking to assist Metro with the continuation of their station optimization analysis. This has been ongoing work at Metro for quite some time now, and we'll be looking at up to 12 different station areas that are experiencing underperformance in terms of ridership, helping to try identify what some of the reasons might be for underperformance, what some of the strategies might be for Metro to go forward with those stations. And then finally, our friends at PACE, they're interested in conducting a market assessment to understand what the transit market might be for the central tri-state corridor, and then in turn, what types of facilities they might need along the corridor. And this information will then feed into the tollway, who's in the process of design, engineering, and then reconstruction of the tollway. So it's good timing for that project. That is the end of the list of 9. We have established a preliminary budget for all 9 of these projects of $906,000. We've secured $200,000 in federal funding to work towards these 9 projects. We're asking these 9 partners to include about contribute about $174,000 in local match, and then finally the remaining, or 59%, coming from the RTA to the tune of $532,000. And so that is the end of my presentation this morning. Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Any questions? Director Higgins?
Is the timeline for application typically the same from year to year? For example, opening in September, closing in October?
This past call for projects actually was outside of the typical timeline. Typically, we do a call for projects in the spring, early summer. At CMAP's request, we did push it back for this current round to the fall. We're still need to have that conversation with CMAP yet about when to do a call for projects, because we do each call in partnership with them. So
Thank you.
not sure yet.
Director Duraney?
You mentioned the rejection of some applications. How many applications were made? How many were rejected? And what is the length of time when an application is made, the average time before it's approved?
Sure. There were a total of 14 applications, and we're selecting 9 of the 14. And as I mentioned, 1 did withdraw. So the remaining 4 then are applications that were not selected for the program. The amount of time, the call for projects closed in the end of October. So it's a good, what are we today, March? It's a good 4 or 5 months of review and opening for, soliciting public comment from the public and going through the process that we're going through today. So we have a fairly lengthy and extensive vetting process.
Okay, thank you. Director Colson?
Is there any way to measure the effectiveness of all these TOD projects, like boarding counts, or does ridership go up after these projects, or what is the experience?
Yeah, good question. Ridership is always a tricky one, because ridership changes are impacted by so many different variables, including development. So we do our best to try to track activities in station areas after we've worked in them, from the ridership perspective, but also from the development perspective, since many of our recommendations and plans include strategies for attracting development to the station area. We work with these communities at least on an annual basis to understand their success rate in number of housing units that are now included near the station area and what that potential could mean for ridership. So many different variables go into tracking the successes of each of these projects.
Any other questions or comments? Chairman?
Just a comment, for those members who have projects on here, you may want to touch base with your local legislators just to let them know we're doing this, especially as we really gear up our activity in Springfield. It's a good way, it's a good opportunity to just touch base with the legislators. I'd tell your appointing authorities that it's happening too, the county board chairman. But more importantly, just zero in on who the legislators are from that area and let them know we're doing this.
Okay. Director?
I truly appreciate the intent of this program. I think it's a fantastic way to establish partnerships between our service agencies and certainly our local units of government. So I really have a great deal of appreciation and support for this programming effort. I agree with the chairman. I think we need to do a good job of communicating with our legislatures so they equally have an appreciation for that opportunity that exists. As we go through the planning process or the call for project proposals in the coming year, how can local units of government better get a sense, if they have a project of interest, that their project is a viable project? That's an area of concern that I have, because sure. I think that there sometimes are misunderstandings, if you will, in terms of the viability of projects. And regardless of the fact that you said, and I respect that very much, that there are no winners and losers, frankly, there are some losers, those people whose projects were not approved, and they sense that. So that's my question.
Sure. We do our best every year to fine-tune the criteria of our program and the types of projects that are eligible in the program, so communities can better understand what we mean by that. We also, for many years now, have been doing strategic targeted outreach prior to the call for projects, helping communities understand if they have a project and what that project might be and how it might fit into the program. We found that it's very successful undertaking of ours, the targeted outreach. Many times the community has some sort of need that they can vocalize, but helping them through conversation with us, they're able to fine-tune those applications and making those statements that better align with our program. So fine-tuning our project descriptions, but as well as doing targeted outreach are two key areas that we're working on that topic.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else? If there's no further business to come before the public session of the Planning and Administrative Committee, can I entertain a motion to adjourn? So by Director Pang, seconded by Dr. Ross. All those in favor? Aye. We stand adjourned.
Welcome to WebEx. Please enter your access code or meeting number followed by the pound sign.